Okay, this is my Beth Glory 2007 review. Let's just get straight into it. You had the Ultimate X match, and this was a pretty good match. It was your standard Ultimate X match. It only went for 12 minutes. I thought it would go on for a little bit longer. But, it was good. It had some pretty good spots in there. It's not something that I'm going to remember as being the best Ultimate X match, or I'm not going to remember it over some other matches I've seen. But, it was good for what it was. It was a good opener. The crowd was very hot. I enjoyed it. I'll give it, 3.25 stars. Next, we had the Fight for Your Right Battle Royal. This was a bit confusing at the start. I mean, if you have to explain the rules of the match to the people who are watching at home, and or the people who bought it, who are your most die-hard fans, or the people checking it out, you really shouldn't be having a match that complicated. I mean, it was a bit shitty at the start, where you had the 8 men trying to get in, you couldn't see everything, you didn't know what was going on, it was confusing. Then at the end of the match, when you had Eric Young pin Robert Roode with a roll up, it was kind of crap. I mean, it was a crap finish. I mean, I wanted to see something good, not just a roll up. But whatever. When you had the 8 men in the ring and doing the actual battle royal thing, it was good. But I still thought that a standard battle royal would have sufficed. I mean, you could have just it would have been good enough. You just piss off Shark Boy and just keep the rest in there, and you have the battle royal. The match wasn't even really required. You don't need to overbook it. You don't need to put everyone on your most important pay per view. It's kind of shit. So I'll give that 2.5 stars. Then you had Christian's Coalition versus Team Pacman. Team Pacman had, and Trusley said this, and he was right on the money with it. They were going to replace Pacman with someone else, and they were trying to get Scorpio, but they couldn't get him, so they got Creed, Consequences Creed. He was pretty good, but still, they sort of explained the circumstances. Pac-Man couldn't wrestle, blah blah blah. The match itself was pretty good, but it had a really shitty ending, like with Pac-Man, throwing the money or dropping the money, and then Earl having to picking it up and then not doing the count. It was pretty stupid. And then you had I can't remember who said it. It was Mike Tenay or Don West. I think it was Mike Tenay. Picking. Well, they said Earl Hebner was picking up cash like a dancer at a club, or stripper at a club or whatever. So that ending sort of really ruined it for me, and it wasn't really that long. It wasn't anything special. It was good, solid wrestling. It was pretty good. The wrestling was pretty good, but just the ending was just really bad, lame crap. So I'll give it 2.25 stars. Next we had Jay Lethal versus Christopher Daniels for the X Division title. This was a very good match. It was fast-paced, good wrestling. Not much. There was no botching of any moves. As you'd expect with an X Division match, ring psychology isn't really high up in it. They had some where Daniels worked on the back, but it was a pretty good match. So, nothing really I have to say about it. It was probably one of the standout matches of the pay-per-view, and I'll give it 3.5 stars. Then you had the Steiner brothers versus Team 3D, and one of the good things about this pay-per-view was, not pay-per-view, this match was, they knew that Team 3D and the Steiners couldn't really work a match in the ring, so they started off on the outside and worked it through the crowd, where their obvious deficiencies wouldn't show so much, and it worked for them to an extent. Then they got in the ring and the action sort of went crappy, and Scott Steiner brought out the Frankensteiner, which was expected. It was a bit dodgy at parts, but there was nothing really special about this. It was just a 2 out of 3 false tables match, and it was pretty shit once they got to the ring, and the action outside the ring just covered deficiencies. It didn't make them look good. So I'll give that 1.5 stars. Nothing to be ashamed of, sort of. If you're the Steiners and Team 3D, nothing at their age, nothing to be ashamed of. Then you had the Knockout Gauntlet Battle Royal. This was pretty good. It was a bit diva-ish at times. It wasn't anything special though. Amazing Kong really saved Awesome Kong, sorry, really saved the match. Not just with her wrestling, but with the wardrobe malfunction when she got eliminated from the match, and that'll probably be edited out of the DVD. So it's not something you want to see anyway. So I don't know why I'm saying it's going to be edited. You should be thanking them for editing that out of the DVD. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I mean, wardrobe malfunction with a 300-pound woman. Yeah. When I saw it, I was pretty fucked up. um, but I'll give the match 2.25 stars. It was pretty decent. It was nothing special, but nothing really bad. I mean, I expected it to be a bit better, but it wasn't. But it wasn't, especially disappointing. Then you had Joe versus Christian Cage. This was somewhat a good match. It had the thing is, I had a problem with this, and someone I was talking with had a problem with this, where Joe had been kept away from Christian Cage for whatever, and he really wanted to get at him, and he really wanted to hurt him, and all that shit. He wanted to make him pay for being a prick or whatever. And then what happens is when he gets into the match, Joe sort of wrestles. He's not wrestling like someone who, if you wanted to get your hands on someone for so long, or you wanted to really get them in the ring just to kick their head in or whatever, you'd want to get in there and kick their head in. But he was, and you'd think that they'd be not unrelenting in the match. But he was playing to the crowd and doing that sort of crap. So it sort of hurt the psychology of the match a little bit. But that's just the way it goes. The match, but then if you were to just take away the storylines and all that, I'd take a bit away from the run-ins. Because of the run-ins, I mean, it worked in serving the purpose that Joe wasn't going to lose to Cage when you had the interference and Christian Cage cheating and whatever. But I'll give it. It was a good match. I'll give it that. It was a 3.75 star match for me, and probably the best match of the night. Next, we had the Monsters Ball match. Not really much to say about this. There was like a couple high-ish spots, nothing really special. Once again, it was just a garbage wrestling match. It was short. You had fucking Raven go through a couple tables, but it looked pretty dodgy because they sort of just went and they didn't really go and break, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm just making sound effects with my mouth now, so I think that's reached a point where what I'm saying doesn't really matter. You had the glass and thumbtacks thing. It wasn't really much because the glass was going over the thumbtacks, and so Raven wouldn't get the thumbtack stuck in his back, which is also why they didn't do a close-up of thumbtacks and glass stuck in his back, because there was nothing stuck in his back. It was just he landed on the glass, and the glass was there to cover up the thumbtack, so he didn't get thumbtacks stuck in his back. Don't say it's hardcore, because it really wasn't. I'm not overanalyzing it. It's just it was stupid, and I could easily see, and anyone could see that was stupid. So 2 stars, because it was whatever it was. It was garbage wrestling. I mean, it wasn't. That's the genre of wrestling. But it was just an average match. It was too short, I'd say, and not enough high spots. And then you had the main event, which was Sting versus Kurt Angle. As expected, it was a clusterfuck at the end, because you had Karen Angle come in, even though she had the restraining order. Then you had Kevin Nash come in, and I mean, the match itself before they came in was good, and I was going to give it like 3.5 stars, because you had Kurt Angle try to do a 450 splash, but hit Sting with his knees. I don't know if he meant to hit him with the knees or meant to land on him with a 450 splash, but it was pretty impressive to see him try. It wasn't as bad as Lesnar's botch when he did the shooting star press, but still, it was a good thing. It was good to see Kurt Angle bring out something new. The match was a bit shorter than I thought it would be, but and at the end you had like 5-7 minutes straight of like interference and stuff, and Sting there was one botch where Sting went, or Kurt Angle went to reverse Sting, and there was miscommunication, and they sort of didn't know what they were doing, and it just looked real dodgy. And then when Kurt Angle got the baseball bat and went to hit Sting, and Sting would put his hands up to catch it, it went through Sting's hand, and Kurt Angle hit Sting in the face with it, so he had to just pretend he grabbed it. So that looked a bit dodgy as well. Pretty funny as well. Pretty funny also. But because of all the interference and stuff, I'll really only give this. I mean, Sting won the title, and I mean, he's like nearly 49, so I didn't really like him winning the title. So I'll give it 3 stars. Overall, I liked the pay-per-view because it was not many promos. It was just wrestling. But there was a bit too many gimmick matches, and it seemed a bit rushed at times, or crammed together. Overall, I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. Pretty good. They should be doing this every pay-per-view. That's it. I'm done. Bye.